Israel launched a series of airstrikes targeting Hezbollah leadership within Lebanon. These strikes, according to Israeli officials, were a direct response to Hezbollah's increasing military capabilities and aggressive actions along the Israeli border. The strikes were intended to degrade Hezbollah's command and control structure, potentially disrupting their ability to launch attacks against Israel. The operation underscores the volatile security situation in the region and Israel's willingness to use preemptive force. This is not the first time Israel has taken military action against Hezbollah. The two entities have a long and bloody history, marked by numerous conflicts. The most notable of these was the 2006 Lebanon War, a month-long conflict that resulted in significant casualties on both sides. While Israel maintains that its actions are defensive, they have been met with condemnation from some international actors. The recent airstrikes, regardless of their intended impact, have significantly escalated tensions between Israel and Hezbollah. It is still too early to fully gauge the ramifications of this operation. It is clear, however, that it has pushed the region closer to the brink of a wider conflict. The international community is watching closely, urging restraint and calling for a de-escalation of hostilities. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining the trajectory of this latest crisis. Whether this incident can be contained or spirals into a larger conflict remains to be seen. What is certain is that the situation in the Middle East remains highly volatile, with the potential for miscalculation or escalation looming large. Iran, a staunch ally and supporter of Hezbollah, immediately condemned the Israeli airstrikes. Iranian officials have vowed to support Hezbollah and have warned Israel of severe consequences for its actions. This response highlights the complex web of alliances in the Middle East and Iran's role as a major regional power. Iran's ties with Hezbollah run deep. Iran provides Hezbollah with significant financial and military aid, enabling the group to maintain its military capabilities and project power in the region. This relationship is rooted in shared ideological goals and a common enemy in Israel. While Iran denies direct involvement in Hezbollah's operations, it is clear that the two entities maintain a close strategic partnership. Iran's response to the Israeli strikes, therefore, was not unexpected. Iran views any attack on Hezbollah as an attack on its own interests and is committed to supporting its allies in the region. This unwavering support has emboldened Hezbollah and contributed to the escalation of tensions with Israel. The current situation presents a significant challenge for the international community. Balancing the need to condemn violence with the desire to prevent further escalation is a delicate task. Iran's involvement adds another layer of complexity, raising concerns about a potential proxy war between regional powers. The recent exchange between Israel and Hezbollah has ignited already simmering tensions in the Middle East. The region has been grappling with numerous conflicts and crises, including the ongoing civil war in Syria, the rise of extremist groups like ISIS, and the humanitarian disaster in Yemen. These interconnected issues create a volatile environment where even small incidents can quickly escalate. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, a long-standing source of instability in the region, further complicates the situation. The lack of progress towards a two-state solution and the ongoing occupation of Palestinian territories fuel resentment and frustration, creating fertile ground for extremist groups to exploit. The recent violence in Gaza and the West Bank is a stark reminder of the fragility of the situation and the urgent need for a political solution. Adding to the complexity is the rivalry between Saudi Arabia and Iran, two regional powerhouses vying for influence. This competition plays out in various proxy conflicts across the Middle East, further destabilizing the region and exacerbating existing tensions. The ongoing conflict in Yemen, where a Saudi-led coalition is fighting Iranian-backed Houthi rebels, is a prime example of this dangerous dynamic. In this context, the recent escalation between Israel and Hezbollah is not an isolated incident. It is a symptom of a much larger problem: the deep-seated divisions, mistrust, and unresolved conflicts that plague the Middle East. Addressing these root causes is essential to achieve lasting peace and stability in the region. Section 4. Escalation Fears. The Shadow of War. The possibility of the recent violence escalating into a wider conflict is a very real and concerning prospect. The Middle East has long been a tinderbox, and the current situation is particularly precarious. A full-scale war between Israel and Hezbollah, potentially drawing in Iran and other regional actors, would be devastating, resulting in massive casualties and widespread destruction. Such a conflict would have far-reaching consequences, extending beyond the immediate region. The global economy, already reeling from the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine, would suffer further shocks. Oil prices would skyrocket, disrupting supply chains and fueling inflation. The flow of refugees fleeing the violence would put immense pressure on neighboring countries and the international community. The potential for miscalculation and unintended escalation is high. In the fog of war, even minor incidents can be misconstrued, leading to a rapid spiral of violence. The involvement of non-state actors like Hezbollah, with their own agendas and internal dynamics, adds another layer of unpredictability. Preventing such a catastrophic scenario requires urgent and coordinated action from the international community. Diplomatic efforts must focus on de-escalating tensions, facilitating dialogue between the parties, and addressing the underlying grievances that fuel the conflict. Failure to act decisively could have dire consequences for the region and the world. Section 5. Global Concerns. A plea for restraint. The international community has reacted to the recent violence with a mixture of condemnation and concern. The United Nations, the European Union, and numerous individual countries have called for an immediate ceasefire and a return to diplomacy. They have expressed deep concern about the potential for further escalation and the humanitarian impact of the conflict. Many countries have condemned Israel's use of force, arguing that it is disproportionate and counterproductive. They have urged Israel to exercise restraint and to refrain from further actions that could inflame the situation. At the same time, they have also condemned Hezbollah's attacks on Israel and its continued military buildup, calling on the group to disarm and respect Lebanon's sovereignty. There is a growing recognition that a military solution to this conflict is impossible, and that only dialogue and diplomacy can bring about a lasting peace. The international community is urging all parties to engage in good faith negotiations and to work towards a comprehensive and sustainable solution that addresses the legitimate concerns of all sides. The international community has a crucial role to play in facilitating dialogue, mediating between the parties, and providing humanitarian assistance to those affected by the conflict. It is essential that the international community speaks with one voice and presents a united front in its efforts to de-escalate the situation and prevent further bloodshed. Section 6. America's role, navigating the crisis. The United States, a key ally of Israel and a major player in the Middle East, faces a delicate balancing act in the current crisis. The Biden administration has expressed its unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself, while also urging restraint and a de-escalation of the violence. The U.S. is walking a tightrope, trying to maintain its strategic alliances while also promoting peace and stability in the region. The U.S. has been engaged in intensive diplomatic efforts to prevent the situation from spiraling out of control. The Biden administration has been in close contact with Israeli and Lebanese officials, as well as with regional and international partners, urging all sides to exercise restraint and to avoid actions that could further escalate tensions. The U.S. has also been working to address the humanitarian situation in Lebanon, providing aid to those affected by the violence. The Biden administration has pledged millions of dollars in humanitarian assistance and is working with international organizations to provide food, water, shelter, and medical care to those in need. The U.S. faces a complex and challenging situation in the Middle East. Balancing its strategic interests with its commitment to peace and stability is no easy task. The Biden administration's handling of this crisis will have significant implications for the region and for U.S. foreign policy in the years to come. Diplomacy or disaster? The recent escalation between Israel and Hezbollah is a stark reminder of the fragility of peace in the Middle East. The region stands at a crossroads, facing a choice between diplomacy and further conflict. The international community must seize this moment for a peaceful resolution. All parties must commit to an immediate ceasefire. This will create space for dialogue and diplomacy. The international community must pressure the parties to negotiate. Addressing underlying grievances is crucial. This includes a just solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, addressing the humanitarian crisis in Lebanon, and promoting regional reconciliation. Sustained support for peacebuilding is essential. Supporting civil society organizations, promoting dialogue and understanding, and investing in education and development. the international community must choose diplomacy to prevent another conflict. The future of the region and the world may depend on it.